Good evening and welcome to the Roxy Files with Roxy and Shannon. Hello, Governor.
Hello, Governor.
Hello. I don't know. This whole YouTube thing is acting a little silly tonight. It didn't
Hmm,
change the image for the show, and now it's not wanting to show chat. Hmm.
that's weird.
It's acting a little wonky. I don't know what it's doing. But welcome, everybody. We are close to the holidays. I know some of us don't care for the actual holiday, but we do enjoy the time to gather with family and have meals and see each other, people that you wouldn't normally see on the regular a lot of times. I'm hoping to get to see some family that'll be in town because if she doesn't come by my house, I'm going to disown her. But anyway, Julie, just so you know.
Well, I choose to celebrate Jesus, whether he was born or not on that day, which is most
Absolutely.
likely not. That's the way I look at it, and the family and all that is because I am blessed. So, you
And
know,
I do enjoy seeing my grandbabies light up on Christmas morning. And this year is special for me because 6 years ago, which I think was 2018, excuse me, 2018, 7 years ago, um, I decided I would have a heart attack on Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, whatever day it was. I decided I'd have a heart attack that day of
holy
all days.
shenanigans.
And the next year before Christmas ever got there, I'm one of these I used to be one of these Dolly Parton Christmas, like the whole house was decorated, the yard, the everything. And I haven't done that in a long time. Life changed this year, with my grown kids and my grandchildren, and we're all in this big old house together. We're having a big Christmas this year because it may be the last year due to their age that it is a magical holiday, shall we say. That I think in the next year that magical mystical part of it will disappear. I see you're already here with bells on. I saw my text message. I cannot get chat to show on the screen for some reason. So
I can see it.
you can
And
see it.
yeah,
It will not
I can
show
see.
on my side.
Hi, Mike. Hi, Logic slash Daniel.
I can't see who's here. So you're gonna have to interpret because it's not showing on the screen.
You got it. Well, you could still at least have it on the one side.
Maybe it's because I was gonna share a screen. We'll go ahead and flip to that screen and I'll stop sharing and we will see. We are talking tonight about Nephilim. We've talked a lot about giants and, these hybrid creatures, and the reason for the flood with Noah was to get rid of them all. But what if some of them survived or their DNA survived? I was watching a show this morning, Apollo and Demon Eraser. I sent it to Shannon. Was watching. It's a very informative show.
I
Demon
also
Eraser is,
watched it.
yeah, he's awesome. He's on it. He's very knowledgeable. I started watching him. He was on JT Follows JC, and then Demon Eraser was on there. So you know how that kind of trickles down.
Hmm.
These are some visual examples that I found that he was showing this morning, which I thought were very interesting. As you can see from this lady right here, she has two symmetrical horns growing from her head. Here is one over here with a huge one growing out of her head. But what I found very interesting was this one. When I started going back and looking, this, when I did some research, was actually found in Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, these were extremely tall skeletons that were found in Pennsylvania with two horns that grew exactly above their eyebrows. They were sent to a museum in Philadelphia and then they vanished. Imagine that. The
Imagine that.
skeletons were believed to have been from 1200 AD, which we know their timeline's off, but as far as what they tell us as time is. But I thought that was a very interesting. Very interesting skull. Here's someone from the 30s, if this is a real photo. It was a human unicorn, and then he disappeared. Nobody ever saw him in the media again. This is a picture of a baby. I saw many, many of these where a baby had a tail that had grown and it was removed and it doesn't grow back. But evidently, that's not an uncommon thing.
Right? Just
Now,
like webbed feet or webbed toes.
yep, I've seen in this looking today, I've seen people who are covered in hair and appear to be goat or animal dog type hair from the waist down, the waist up, like you something, yeah. This is a coin of Alexander the Great. And look what is depicted on the side of his head.
Hmm.
A horn. Evidently, it says horns were believed to signify great wisdom and strength and represented kingship. Well, it tells us in the Bible that the angels, Nephilim, they laid with women, they had creatures, monsters. Those monsters were tearing the world apart, so we had a flood to get rid of them. But who says that all of the cockroaches were killed?
Mm-hmm.
Shannon loves giants.
I do. I am obsessed with this topic. As a matter of fact, it's a favorite pastime for me.
See, now this chat thing is really getting on my nerves. I don't know why the chat won't work tonight. So I can't see what you guys are saying. Hang on, I'll bring up
Let's
another
see.
window over here and let me see if I can watch chat from my channel so I can see what's going on.
There's a little chat button on the side of our studio. It's where I tend to look at it.
Yeah, but see, I'm not seeing anything there. I've just got a blank window with a little spinning circle.
Oh, that's
Hey,
crazy.
Cash. Okay, I see Cash there now. I'm running my channel on another screen since we're not screen shared anymore. Cash is out there. Um, but genetics are a very specific thing when we're looking at genetics and how genetics are carried from mother to child versus father to child, what quantities, what percentages. And this is just one of those things that intrigues me. That basically, when a man and a woman make a child, that the woman pretty much does most of the work of the heavy lifting genetically. Like, there's only a small percentage that the man's seed actually contributes to the child, should I say. And another thing, when you look at a DNA, we see this twisted ribbon structure when you're looking at it, or that's what you think of in your mind. But if you look at it from top down instead of from the side, you actually get geometric shapes, which
Mm-hmm.
kind of look a lot like that 3-eye atlas thing that we looked at yesterday on Daniel's show. But these horns and hairy people, and is this DNA that's left over from the Nephilim? Is this the reason that we have all these different blood types? Because you would think in the beginning that if we just had Adam and Eve, and that was the beginning of God's creation, we wouldn't have had all these different blood types. And
Exactly.
I understand from some theories that we think that Adam and Eve may have just been one set of peoples in one area or one garden. That's a theory that's out there too. But that's a lot of different blood types. And I don't know. Genetics carry, they skip generations. And I'm going to be honest with you. The whole thing about the extra tail and the horns, I have an extra vertebrae. It's part of this RH negative thing that a lot of us have an extra vertebrae, or we have extra ribs, or we have really weird cranial structures. I'm 50 years old and my skull is still growing, Shannon.
Right.
I've it grows enough in the back that it became I could tell it. You can tell.
Right.
And then more obvious when I had cancer and lost all my hair and I was bald. Over the years, the back of my head has elongated.
Hmm.
And it almost reminds me of how, as a mom, when you have a baby, you make sure that the baby doesn't lay in one spot all the time so he has a nice round head because his head's soft. I'm
Right.
50 years old. My head shouldn't be soft.
Right.
Ain't nothing soft on me except the tire around the middle, maybe, but I don't know. And the actual brain volume in my cranial structure has enlarged over the
Hmm.
past 15 years that we've been watching this. It's just strange to me. Like,
Well, it's interesting because that guy was talking about how we all have canine teeth,
mhm.
right? And he brought up something that I just kind of blew my mind. Like, oh my gosh, you put that puzzle piece together, like epiphany, where he was saying, those dog-headed men that we've heard of pop up throughout a lot of this interesting information online throughout these last 10-15 years, that like Marco Polo wrote about and drew maps with these different kinds of creatures, and these dog-headed men were part of that. And he mentioned that they were the Canaanites, like the
Mhm.
Canaanites that you read about in the Bible. And I'm like, oh my gosh. But we all have canine teeth, like the original Hebrew, like human people apparently did not have those kinds of teeth. So it just kind of clicked and made sense. And, Jesus came for the Gentiles, and that guy was talking about how we all have that genetic Gentile mix now, and now we can be saved by Jesus. That's the whole thing. Anyways, I digress. I just wanted to bring that up, that we all have that trait. So a part of us all have some of these Nephilim traits in our bloodlines.
And it's genetics that are carrying over and skipping and like I mean I've seen instances not necessarily related to Nephilim where all of a sudden a Caucasian couple has a child and this child looks African American.
Hmm.
And genetically they do DNA tests because of course no one thinks that the wife has cheated or whatever. And it was a recessed gene from generations ago or somebody in their family. So if that can happen with just your race, imagine what could happen coming through, the genetics through the years of where you get horns or an extra vertebrae or like some of these skulls they found in Mexico, which kind of remind me of the Alien versus Predator movies, where they have
Hmm.
this elongated thing on the back of their head. I mean,
Right.
mine's growing slow enough. I don't think I'm ever going to end up looking like that. But
Are you saying you're a conehead?
I don't know. No, mine's growing out the back, like where you would put your ponytail at on your head. I noticed here.
It's
Well,
that
it's
back occipital area. They say there's there's a lot of mythology with another eye, like a third eye kind of thing back in that area.
it's lumpy, and I don't like lumpy. I mean, I know I got a lot of hair. It goes down to my waist, and I keep it up in my bun. But if I was to ever get sick again and lose my hair, they'd call me biscuit head because it would look like I got biscuits all over the back of my neck back there. I mean, I've had scans. There's nothing wrong with me. And there's no explanation as to why my brain volume has increased other than maybe I'm getting a little smarter. Didn't know that was possible, but I mean,
You're becoming mega mind.
a mega mind. No, sir. A mega mind. Got too many things on my mind is what the problem is.
Well,
Uh,
even with certain genetic things, my parents, neither of them had blue eyes like mine. Both my grandfathers did on both sides, but there were no blue eyes to be had by my parents. And it was just kind of odd because it's already quite a recessive gene as it is to have blue eyes, and then have coming from parents who don't have those eye colors is pretty. And
Now,
my dad had hazel eyes, which was very rare too. So
nobody on my side of the family, my dad's side, had blue eyes. Like, there's not a lot of blue eyes on that side. My ex husband, I don't know of a single person in his genetic family that does not have blue eyes. Like, both of my children, both of my grandchildren, and my ex son in law, he had brown eyes. I have green eyes. Like, they have these blue, weird looking blue eyes sometimes that look like you could see water in them.
right, like
I mean, they're
almost
beautiful.
crystal.
Yeah, they look like
Yeah.
a lot of times, especially um my ex-husband and his dad, they had these eyes that looked wicked. I mean, they didn't even look normal, especially like if they got upset or had cried, at a funeral or whatever. If they had got emotional, the blue in their eyes looked like water you see in the islands.
Hmm.
And every one of their children and their grandchildren, they all have it. That blue eye color takes over if you were related genetically to them.
Yeah, it's weird because I think I've mentioned before, back in the day I used to be all gothy, but it kind of started because my best friend died in a very, very horrific, tragic way. And it was all over the news. I mean, it was a very horrific thing. So I started dressing in all black, because I was in mourning. And when I did that, it just really escalated my eye color, apparently. And I would have people in the hallways at school like freaking out, calling me a witch just because they were saying it was my eyes, because my eye color was so intensely like crystal blue, like you couldn't. It would freak people out. I still get sometimes people just like, wow, your eyes, if I wear certain things and that's what pops out. And it's like, I'm not evil. I'm not a witch. I'm in mourning. Like, I'm literally wearing black because my friend died. And this is my natural eye color. But yeah, I get that. I'm not evil though.
I'm fighting with this chat over here, y'all. Y'all can
Yeah.
see what I can't see. I don't know why it's doing this. I don't know. Maybe it's just restream. I don't know. We'll see.
I will
Uh,
say it's interesting because Noah, right? There's this whole, like when Noah was born, his father was freaked out. He was worried because Noah was, I would say, more like an albino, where he was pure white and he had, pure white hair, and he had these pure blue eyes, and he thought he was part of the Nephilim, or of the angels. Like, he was freaking out. And it was interesting because God chose him because his family bloodline, or his bloodline, was, pure. It wasn't messed with any of the angel blood, but yet his dad was freaked out that he was one of them because of his appearance.
and see, which Big E just said he has fangs. Whatever, Big E. We know you ain't got fangs. Um, when I started looking into like the different regions where these unique genetic anomalies pop up, like when you get over into Yemen and areas like that, you get into more of the people who seem to have some type of long hair all over their body. And then you get into Asian countries and you seem to have more of a concentration of horns or a tail. And you know what I'm saying? It was like different regions tend to have a higher percentage of particular kinds of genetic anomalies.
Right.
Like the horns, they try to say that it's some type of Basically, your DNA went haywire, and it thinks that that's supposed to be a fingernail. That does not look like a fingernail. I'm sorry, that's a horn all day long on that lady's head.
Right.
Which they've always got an excuse for whatever anomaly there is out there. And yes, Daniel, you have hexachromia eyes,
Right.
sweetheart. We both do. That's part of
Mm-hmm.
our genetics.
I
That's
do too, with the gold ring around. It's so
yep.
weird. Mm-hmm.
Daniel and I have these kind of strange eyes, especially if they get, you're upset or they get red or whatever. They do like the blue eyes do, and they just kind of stand out ahead of anything else.
Freak people out. No, just kidding.
I've actually had a couple of comments late night after, back in the day after a few drinks or whatever, and people would look at me and go, "What is the deal with your eyes?" And I actually told one guy, I said, "You ever seen that movie Twilight?" I said, "It's just a
Oh.
fluorescence. Don't worry about it. I don't bite." Listen, you want to be a smart behind the man? I'm gonna play you. I'm gonna play you like an idiot. But
Andy was
I
really
love
getting
doing that.
into. Oh yeah, Andy was really getting into that video too. His expertise is like biology and chemistry, and he was, talking about certain other, genetic anomalies that people had. And that guy was talking about how even trees, they were like quote unquote mating with trees. and
Yeah.
and Andy was like, he said way before that, oh, there are those guys or those people who have like bark for skin, like they literally grow
Yes.
bark. And then the guy mentioned all of that and then showed pictures like, hey, you were just talking about that. He's very interested in all these genetic anomalies. And I'm like, I think I got him on that one. He got interested. Ha 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 ha.
You got him hooked on that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there are some really unique genetic anomalies within the human races, and I don't mean race by color. I mean just humans. No longer believe in race. I believe in a person's soul. It has nothing to do with the color of your skin, where you came
Amen.
from, where you were born, who your parents were. It's all got to do with who you are as a human being and how you treat other human beings. And
Amen.
Jesus didn't want to be followed. He wanted to be mirrored. He said, "Be like me." He didn't ask you to, to put him up on a throne in a temple because he said he'd flip those tables. I think it's about time we start flipping some more of those tables. I actually seen a thing on the news a while ago where uh, I can't remember what city it was in. I saw palm trees in it. It was so it had to be, something southern. But they had a big tree set up in the middle of town, and there were a bunch of Muslims that were climbing the tree, like 15 of them, and tearing the tree apart
Mm.
just for anger. And the thing about these, I've seen a lot of the Somalians that are just randomly walking down the street and attacking old people just
Mm.
out of meanness. I mean, I know they've been sent here on that mission for some reason. That's why they all invaded this country. They were supposed to be the sleeper cells within. Why? I don't get it. Why do people want to harm other people? And I mean, I understand it's evil. It's evil within them. I completely understand what that is. But I don't know. I don't think we can pray hard enough to get that meanness.
Well, the unfortunate thing is when your religion or your traditions tell you you have the right, like it is your duty, to cause these things because these people are infidels or this is a certain situation, and that you get a ridiculous reward that's not even real. to do these things because you're dying as a martyr. They're fueled with the idea that they're going to be gratified in a certain way, which is a fleshly desire for eternity afterwards, for creating that type of behavior and environment. So
Well, see,
it,
Cash brought up something there. He said his ex-wife, whenever she lied, her eyes would go from hazel to green. And we've heard throughout time that your eyes are the window to your soul.
yep.
And there's a point I can make about that. I don't anyone out there has ever been around someone who is bipolar or schizophrenic. If you ever been around somebody who's bipolar, who went manic on you, was about to be violent, their eyes turn black. It's like
Oh
the
yeah.
whole center pupil of their eye dilates, and it's a part of their brain that kicks in and causes it. And basically, until they get that violent rage out, they're not going to return to who they were, which to
That's
me
oh, go
is a
ahead.
demon taking over.
Right. Well, it's interesting because that's, a lot of the times when, like on their end, them describing when they have that moment of rage, they see red. They don't, and it's like they black out and don't even know that what they did.
Yeah, they
And
don't remember it.
I, when I was probably about like 11 or 12, my stepfather, he had a really, this is one who passed away years ago, and he had a real control issue with his stereo equipment. And I'm like, well, he's not here, so I'm going to blast his stereo equipment, right? And he gets home and, like, I don't know, he was already in a mood. He goes into a rage over this. And I say something, I don't even know what I said to trigger him. But the next thing I know, his eyes are black and he's choking me. My mom came home in the nick of time and broke up the whole thing, but before she could actually see what happened. And when I explained to her what happened, they got into this massive fight, but he did not know whatsoever. He's like, no, I didn't do that. There's no way. And it's like you could see in his eyes, like he genuinely did not remember doing that. But I'm like, I have marks on my neck. Like, dude, you know?
Well, see, I had a family member who was probably the first time. Well, this was a married in family member. Was the first time I had ever witnessed somebody flip that switch. And his voice changed, his eyes changed, his mannerism changed. Everything about him changed. He was no longer him.
Mm-hmm.
Like, and anyway, I'm
No.
not going to say, but he was he was emotional. He was upset. His marriage was falling apart, and he was at my house, and he was an in-law, but I still loved him. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to help him get through this and talk to him. And he had been drinking, and which at the time I did not know was one of his triggers, because the person he was married to had never let me know that he flips the switch like this. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm kind of glad I saw it that night, because then when that person did tell me about him flipping his switch a couple of times, I was like, oh, I've seen that dude. I've met him. He's a little scary. I honestly thought that man needed an exorcism that night.
Mm-hmm.
It went from everything was fine, because I had a group of, my grown up friends. This was just 4 or 5 years ago, over at my house, and we were actually playing Cards Against Humanity. And it was me and a bunch of my girlfriends, and Willie was there, and a friend of mine, Richard. And we were all just literally sitting around a big coffee table, Indian style, playing card games, talking trash, instead of being out at a club somewhere on a Friday night. He came by, and I'm like, just hang out with us, whatever. A few drinks in, he is outside, leaned up against a tree, and he started laughing, and it sounded like something from a horror movie. It was just this deep, evil belly laugh. And I kind of looked at Willie, and Willie looked at me, and I was like, something ain't right with dude, man. And when I got face to face, we ended up having to get him to go inside and lay down, in which he ended up later coming walking through my house buck naked with all of my grown girlfriends in the house.
Mm.
Doesn't remember any of it. And yeah, there's something evil in there. Yeah, it is like 10 people coming at you because you don't know who you're dealing with.
See, I have a see. This became story time, but I have a very similar story. But have you ever seen those movies, like the Ring movies, and like that style where they're all the ladies all contorting the demonic creature and moves all weird? Well, there's a friend of ours who is no longer in this position. He's saved and has an amazing family. He's super awesome. But there was a time where he was struggling with a lot of things and had abuse and a lot of things. And he was trying to tell me and a friend of mine that he was, possibly into dudes and that whatever. And we were like, where is this coming from? Like, we knew where it was coming from. Like, it wasn't genuine and it was just weird. So we started talking to him. And for whatever reason, I decided, I'm going to read scripture. I had Bible in my hand out of nowhere, like, in this situation. And I just opened it up and I started saying a scripture. I don't know what it was, but whatever it was, it triggered him hard. And we ended up downstairs trying to talk to him because he was being weird and flipping out. And the next thing you know, his eyes turned blood red. He growls like nothing
Mm.
I've ever heard. Like it wasn't even an animal growl. And he starts contorting like that chick from the Ring. And I'm like, I have a witness, okay? So it's not just me. Like both me and Sarah look at each other and we're like, what in the French toast is this? And instead, like she moves far, far away. I get in close and I start praying with him and put my hands on him. And he kind of like gets out of, like breaks out of everything. And he's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I need to go. And he tries to hug Sarah and to touch her, but he wouldn't. Like she would not let him. She was like, heck no. But the area that he tried to touch her literally was burned. Like she had a burn mark on her where he tried to touch her but did not touch her. And he walks out and he had like no idea what happened. He was just like, I gotta go. And I'm like, yeah, yeah, okay. That's cool. And then another incident happens where he actually was drinking and speaking in a whole nother language and horrible stuff that our friend Sarah dealt with, but I didn't actually see. I just dealt with the aftermath and it was crazy. I mean, I had never seen anyone contort like that. I mean, you see it in the movies and you're like, okay, this is a neat camera trick, but you're like, no, that can happen.
Well, and I think we've seen so much of this. We've talked about it before. When you think about something that you've never seen in real life, let's just say a unicorn. When you think of a unicorn, you think of this white horse with a horn coming out of its head and glitter and sparkles and rainbow bright. You know what I'm saying? That
Right.
is our perception of what that animal would be like because that's what's been put in front of our face since childhood. Or even a dragon. You've never seen a dragon in real life. I've not. Or a
No.
unicorn or a sprite or a fairy or any of these mythological, supposed to be fantasy creatures. But we now know that the Nephilim and the angels mating and, made all these different monsters and creatures. And our concept of what those creatures would be is based off what we've seen on, and I'm going to put this in quotation marks, television or, on the internet. That's what our visual concept goes off of. But if you erase that concept and start thinking about what it is, maybe it's not as much fantasy as we thought it was, that they wanted us to see that as fantasy. And like when you're talking about people being possessed by demons, you automatically want to go to one of those exorcist movies where you are seeing people twitch and contort and tied to beds and, priests slinging them with holy water. There are demon possessions every day of everyday people by doing small things that let evil in. And uh, didn't, had never really thought it until I was watching his show today and was listening to some of his grammar, which look up grammar and grimoire, and which we all know what spelling is, things of that nature, and like alcohol. If you go watch that show, there will be things, and you'll be like, you know what? I never put that together. You know that liquor is called a spirit, so it's not called a spirit for no reason, folks. Big E was going to ask about a unicorn. A. Howard. I was a neonatal ICU nurse for 23 years. Saw a lot of infants with an extra finger. Most were African American. I never saw an infant with a tail, but there was one with a third leg with no foot. And don't get me wrong, I know there are probably some genetic issues, that happen. Do you wipe him out, Mike? The sniper has hit. I love you, Mike. But there are
That's
gonna
true.
be genetic anomalies because we got things like Down syndrome and all kinds of things. But did these genetic anomalies and these anomalies in blood types start at the Nephilim? This is my question.
Well, considering how much in the beginning of the Old Testament and the whole storyline is always seemed to be about genetics and the corruption of genetics, and that the great deluge or the great flood had a lot to do with wiping out the abominations that came from messing around with genetics to create their own creations to try to be above God, which is not possible. You can't do that. It's going to go bad.
Well, and see, this is another thing when we're talking about messing with God, and you can't do this. The whole RH negative thing. That's one of the most intriguing things to me about this blood type. If a woman is RH negative, her first pregnancy without a ROGAM shot, the first pregnancy will go like clockwork. Unless there's some major medical issue, it will go like clockwork, literally to the day, most times. If you will look up women, their first pregnancy, and they're RH negative, that pregnancy will go to the day and they'll have the baby. The second one, if you don't get a ROGAM shot, you will miscarry. And the ROGAM shot can mess the mother up as much as it can the child. But there is some type of selective process in that RH negative that mother is only supposed to be allowed to have one child. Because if genetically, if God had or whomever had intended for RH negative to perpetuate at a different rate of, children born to mothers, that wouldn't happen with all of them. It it's such a thing that they developed a shot to stop it, and this is why people had to have blood tests back in the day, way back before they got married. When they got marriage license back in the 50s and 60s. That was the no trolls allowed. But thanks for stopping by. Don't let the doorknob hit you, where the good Lord split you. Anyway,
Amen.
Please come back at a later date. We'd love to have you so we can pray for you because you sound like you need some. Anyway,
Amen.
amen. Um, there's a reason. Why are RH negative parents only allowed one child? That's one of the burning questions to me with the RH negative thing because that it's the only blood type that does it. There's no other blood types out of negatives or positives or ABOs, whatever, that the female body will literally terminate a second pregnancy before 29 weeks. Mine terminated. He survived, but it terminated. He didn't weigh but a pound and 13 ounces when he was born. He's 30 years old now. But by the grace of the big man upstairs, my kid survived. Me and him both like to died that night. Because when I went into labor, I hemorrhaged from 11, well, about midnight that night till 10 o'clock the next morning. I had to have a couple of surgeries, multiple blood transfusions, and he was rushed off to a neonatal unit.
Mm.
And that's a very, very unique anomaly that's just tied to one particular thing, and it's RH negative. And it doesn't matter whether you're A negative or O negative or B negative, AB negative. If you're negative, you got to have a shot because you get one pregnancy. If you are missing that rhesus factor, you got to have a shot or you get one baby. And it explains a lot of things about women back in the 40s and 50s. There were some women who had one child and continually kept trying to have children and would just have miscarriage after miscarriage after miscarriage. My mom was one. I think she had 7 or 8 miscarriages between me and my brother. There's a 10-year gap. That explains it. Now we know. But I think my poor mom back then, they didn't know, and she thought it was something she was doing or that she was defective. Imagine what that would do to a woman in the 60s or 70s before Rogam, and you have one kid, and then every other time you have a miscarriage. Imagine how heartbreaking that would be.
Oh gosh. And I think a lot of the eugenics push too was to try and cover up a lot of these genetic anomalies, in the poorer countries that you had mentioned earlier that seem to have more of these genetic anomalies popping up in certain kinds. In the Western societies, they did some horrific things to cover up these genetic anomalies. And when babies were born with things like webbed feet or, other handicap things, or just even the tail situation before there were ways of, removing them and making them look somewhat normal, they would just leave them to die. They would put them in a room and leave them to starve and tell the mother
Right.
that they were died a stillborn or died of a few moments after birth. And that, I think, is a big push on what that whole genetic cleansing part is they're trying to hide these anomalies that are coming out in people. At least that's my opinion.
Well, and I mean, I'm on board with that opinion because when you look at back how they treated, 50 years ago, 75 years ago, in medical situations, how things like that were treated. And this was something that kind of not related, but it blowed my mind. This was probably 6 years ago, 8 years ago or so. I actually knew a girl who was pregnant, and she would not let anybody see her baby or tell them that she had had her baby because she was embarrassed because the child had Down syndrome. And
Mhm.
for whatever reason, that was her reasoning, whatever. But I can't imagine as a mother being ashamed of my child, whether it had a horn growing out of its head or not. It's still my kid, and
Amen.
I made it. I mean, you can't bake biscuits and then be ashamed because they didn't come out perfect looking. You still made them and you put love into them, so you should still love your biscuits. And I don't know. I just and the more we get into looking at the genealogy and the genetics and the way things are spelled and where the phonetics come from, and you look at particular regions in the world where these particular anomalies are, you can see this is what my mind put together earlier after I watched this podcast. You could see that in particular areas there were unique genetic traits. Like we said, one area there were more people with horns, in another area of the world there were more people that were covered in some type of matted hair, which remind me of a schnauzer dog or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it tells you in the Bible that each of some of these Nephilim, they went to areas and did their own thing and set up their own kingdom and laid with the women. So is that part of what it is? Is each one of those genetic anomalies, do they all trace back to the same original location of wherever that Nephilim went and laid with a human woman? Did like everybody with horns, were they Asian? Everybody with hair, were they Middle Eastern? You see what I'm saying? Like if they
Right.
were sected off into different tribes,
Well,
can
and they
you
have a
can you
lot of,
genetically chain those tribes back together to the beginning? I guess is my question.
right. Well, and two, like in the European areas, you get more of the redheaded genetics and the redheaded and blonde genetics, which I know the red hair especially is associated with the Nephilim. And he was talking about the whole ginger, like why we call them gingers, and I thought that was interesting. Do you remember his explanation on that one etymologically?
No, see, I've not made it all the way through this because the way my day has gone, it's been a start and stop and a pause on 3 different devices throughout the house today while I was cooking.
Mm.
So enlighten us on the ginger part.
Well, it's interesting because there's this other guy out there who even wrote a book, called "The Nephilim Look Like Clowns," and he describes that in all regions of the world there are these depictions of these monstrous scary clown like beings, and with the red hair and the big bulbous red nose and the big giant smile and the whole 9 yards. But most of the time you see a clown wearing the red haired wig that's curly, and it's just interesting because the whole red hair
Ronald
anomaly.
McDonald.
Ronald McDonald.
Oh my goodness. These blooming juice boxes again. See, how do we always end back up on the juice box conversation?
Everything all marries together. It is a big giant web
Of juice boxes.
of juice
Capri
boxes,
Suns. I'm sorry. Capri Suns. My apologies. I'm
which
on the wrong
always
lexicon.
which always ends up going back to what? Genetically modifying. It's a good way to put it, right? That's the term that
Yeah.
everyone uses in this day and age, genetically modified. Yeah, it's all circles back to the same Genesis. It all began with the messing with genetics and
See,
these fallen angels.
and see, even to today, they're even trying to modify the seed that we're eating, that we're growing our plants from, the food that we're eating. They're trying to genetically modify us. They're all trying to play God.
They're genetically modifying our air, guys.
Oh,
Our
girl, I saw a video a while ago where
freaking
somebody had
air.
collected some fog out in your area, and it looked like snot.
Girl, I saw the fog. Okay. I'm in an area in the Inland Empire where we're used to this, what they call smog, but it's not really exactly. it's always this area has been dense in this kind of weird smoggy foggy thing, right? So we're used to it. But yesterday, was it yesterday? It was either yesterday or the day before, I saw it. Like it wasn't the normal layer that I'm used to, and it almost had a glow to it. I cannot explain to you what I saw, and even my client was just like, "It's weird today. There's this weird." I was like, "Oh my gosh, the fog has come." It's the fog, guys. But I'm telling you, it had a glow. It wasn't normal. I'm
It
used to
was
it looking all dingy and, but this was like
weird looking
glowing.
here today. It was just gray. Like we had the sky looked pink to begin with, and then it kind of went gray, which in the South we normally associate that with snow. But
Mhm.
it's supposed to be 77 degrees Christmas Day. So I don't foresee any snow unless it's coming next week in some of this crazy weather that's coming. 'Cause evidently the weather's supposed to go haywire next week. But we got off subject as usual. I'm sorry, everybody. Shannon and I have
That's okay.
ADD when it comes to conversation.
Very much so. Well, not to keep going on to that off topic subject, but if you all could say some prayers for all of us in California, because we're all about to be hit in the next couple of days with some kind of crazy atmospheric river nonsense and blah blah blah, which I do not have fear over this by any means, but it might be a little difficult around here. So we might have some power outages like in San Francisco and all of that. But apparently, it's only California that's being hit right now. So just, say some prayers for us Cali people.
Yeah, we all need to be praying for everybody.
For real.
California needs it for the weather and for that
Many
lovely
other
governor they
things.
have. Somebody needs
Yeah.
to pray that they he goes bye bye
I
somewhere.
call him Patrick Bateman.
I call him an idiot. He's just an
If you have
idiot.
ever seen American Psycho, you'll know why
No, I haven't
I
watched that
call
one.
it's. Yep, he's
I'm
Patrick
I'm
Bateman.
currently watching Victoria about Queen Victoria. This is one of I like watching. I know we're off subject, folks,
Yeah.
but we're going to kind of digress from the Nephilim for a few minutes because that's a deep,
Well,
dark
Queen
subject.
Victoria in the film. I mean, it's not like they're really off
Mhm.
subject.
Not really off topic, but I was watching, flipping, scrolling TikTok the other day, and it was the Vanderbilt mansion that was built
Oh.
out by the sea, and it
Mm-hmm.
is available. They were doing a tour of it or whatever on video, and I noticed that all of these super rich people from back then all had their houses built next to the ocean. Well, not
Mm-hmm.
only was their house built next to the ocean, they had special pumps built into the basement of their house to pump seawater up so that they could bathe in seawater, salt water. Now, we know that salt water conducts electricity. We are all electrical beings. There's a lot of things from a few hundred years ago that have been hidden from us, like how they heated their house and heat it with wood, folks. It was radium. You could evidently take a piece of radium, a, smaller than a shoebox, and heat your house for 10 years with it. There were no flues in these stoves. There were no pipes that went up to the ceiling. Radium. A lot, and
Hmm.
we all know that the things they tell us, up is down, left is right. Look at everything backwards. So they tell us that mercury is dangerous, that you can't be around mercury. If you put mercury in a centrifuge and you spin it, it will float and will become weightless. It is how they are flying these machines that
Well,
are PRB3s and everything else. I didn't use the lexicon words that might whatever.
Well,
But
in Mercury's pure state, it's red, and it's not. I don't believe it's as toxic as the current form that we're used to, right? But that the red properties are very interesting. I think we brought those up before, but you can't
there's
see
a
a reflection, and it gets repelled by garlic or acidic things, and it's attracted to gold and all of that.
well, the more we learn about sound frequency and frequencies of the earth, we see these amazing Tibetan buildings that are you have no idea of how they could have been made. Um, but I actually watched a guy the other day take sound frequency in a 3D printer and print one of those buildings from bottom up.
Whoa,
Literally
share that.
vibrated. I have to
You
find
gotta
it.
share that.
Oh, my niece is calling. I'm not answering her because if she was listening to my show, she would know I was on the air. She shouldn't be calling me. Shame on you. Anyway, um, but have you ever seen some of the Tibetan stuff there? Like, I'll have to send it to you. You see a lot of these, like they have these columns with very unique, intricate designs on them, and there'll be like a ring within a ring, but yet it's all
Mm-hmm.
carved out of one piece of stone.
Mm-hmm.
If you take sound frequency, you can generate that building from the bottom up. It would appear as though it was carved out of stone, but it was
Wow.
essentially 3D printed with stone. And so we think about
Interesting.
all the technology that would have been here thousands and thousands of years ago that has been lost. And there's so many civilizations over time that this is what gets me. The Roman Empire had sewers. They had, things like that. And you're going to tell me all of a sudden all that disappears and it takes 1,000 years for humankind to catch back up and build sewers and toilets and yeah,
Shenanigans.
where did all this tech go? You're not going to tell me that the whole world just all of a sudden became ignorant of all the things the Roman Empire unless there was a reset. There was a major reset. When you have major resets, all technological information disappears. And that's the only thing that makes sense to me because you're not going to tell me that they used to have sewers in Rome and it takes them 1,000 years after Rome falls to have sewers again in other places. It just doesn't make sense.
You know, speaking of genetic anomalies and Mercury, I'm curious, like the red kind that we're talking about. And, we were talking about Nephilim anomalies, and it reminds me of vampires, right? Which we've always considered to be like almost like a mythological creature, like they're not real, but they're very real. And the anomalies that they have, that you cannot see their reflection in a mirror, garlic repels them, things along those lines. It just makes me wonder if there's something to do with maybe these blood types or bloodlines where there is a production of this type of mercury in your system. Like we all have metals in our blood, different kinds, like iron, and it's mostly iron, right? But we do have little bits of metal,
Copper.
copper, things along those lines. So it's
See,
just
RH negative blood is higher in copper
right.
than other blood types. And I actually told a doctor that one time, and he looked at me like I was a moron and basically told me I was crazy. I told him he needed to go back and get re educated at that juice box school he went to because he was ignorant. I don't mix well with the white coats, as we seen earlier this week. I don't know who heard earlier in this week, but I had a doctor's appointment at my cancer center. The new doctor, she had been in the room all of 12 seconds before she started trying to offer me sticky pokies, and she had no idea what she was doing. She shouldn't have a license. I'm just saying, and I explained that to her. So I don't know if they'll give me another follow-up appointment or not, but I was kind of vocal about it. Don't come into the room be in an uneducated position. I will educate you. Don't tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. It's sad that you went to school for 6 or 8 or 10 years, and I've learned more since I woke up than you learned in your whole juice box education system. But anyway, yeah, there is a there is a pyramid in Mexico that is actually built on top of a mercury lake.
Hmm.
Yeah, I think it's Tehuacan. Is it Tehuacan? I'll have to look it up. But it's one of the smaller pyramids in I think it's Mexico that will it's built on top of a mercury pool. And if you'll notice, almost every single one of the pyramids that you see are built next to water, mercury, or what was the third element? Which we all know that they were using them for power. Let's see what the viewers are saying. I would agree. There's much evidence of a reset. Yeah. Dosing them with the mind memory killing aluminum oxide. Ain't it? Ain't it? They've been dosing us with a lot of stuff and a lot of things: the food, the air, the water, our children at school, the little pink stuff that you drink in the gifted and talented. I don't know if I told you the other day or not, Shannon, but one of my grandchildren's teachers said they were going to test him for the gifted and talented, and I said I don't think so.
You
I do
sure
not
did
think so.
mention that.
Listen, I they are only going there because it is not within my power at the moment to home educate them, which I am working on getting to a place. The greenhouse is almost done, and if I can't bring them home full time, they're still going to get an education while they're here.
Mhm.
These children of mine are just texting, texting, texting. They don't pay no attention that their mama's on the air. 30 going on 13. But yeah, I mean, I want to, now that I've got the greenhouse going, that's one of the things I want to teach my grandbabies. I want to teach them how to grow a tomato plant or a head of lettuce, because the more this system has uneducated our children about what they need to survive and instead implanted this false narrative of what they say history was. And when I say they, we know I'm talking about the Capri Suns, okay? And all the other people at the top of the pyramid. They have, I like, and I got to brag on this one because the grandson was sitting at the table the other day, and I'm like, I ask him all the time, like, what do y'all learn in school? Tell me what you're talking about. And evidently, his teacher brought up dinosaurs, and he raised his hand and he says, "I'm sorry, ma'am, you're misinformed. There were no dinosaurs; those were dragons." My grandma said so.
Yes. Woohoo. That's
Get
right.
them, son. I'm learning them up early. Ain't no need
Yeah.
to be quiet. Don't listen to their lies. And I understand that there are people out there that don't know any better. They're using the same system that they were educated on, and they didn't go verify the information. It's just like a unicorn. We see a unicorn, or somebody says unicorn, the visual image you get is a white horse with white hair with a horn out of its head. It probably poops sparkles
Or rainbows.
or rainbows. Yeah. I mean, I just don't. I mean, who said that's what they look like? That's like all these, in air quotes, dinosaurs in the museums, and you see in movies, they're all green or brown. Who said? Who said? They supposed to be been dead for a long, long time. How you know? Or is that just what you wanted us to think?
Hmm.
That's the same thing. Anything, just like exorcisms. I see that movie Exorcist, and you see the girl twitching and foaming at the mouth and climbing the ceiling. No, you don't have to go through all that to know somebody's got demons. Just watch
Hmm.
somebody when their eyes black out, or somebody who's just can speak out of both sides of their mouths, That's why they want day and dims. Let's see who we got in the crowd with us tonight, because we're gonna close up talking on this, and let's see. Well, we know we got Big E and Cash, Clayton. Thank you, Clayton, for coming. Don't think we've seen you in the crowd before. Completely erase the memory of something that was previously widely held. The Bible and Jesus. Sit back and watch it happen. 3 generations is all it takes. Oh yeah, the my grandmother, and this is crazy, she told me so many things when I was a teenager, 14, 15, 16, 18, back before I had children. She was saying things to me, and I didn't know what she was saying. I didn't understand them. Sadly, I did not understand them until I woke up a few years ago. And now I think back on the things she said to me, and I'm like, she was awake the whole time, but she was old school country. Like, we always had a garden. We always raised our own hogs, our own cows. We weren't buying that stuff from the grocery store because she couldn't trust them. I thought she was just cheap. I mean, honestly, I mean, I know we were country. We lived and we farmed during the summer, and she grew a garden and everything. I just always thought my grandma was treat cheap. She was on a tight budget. We didn't go to town but once a month. And but now the things that she has said to me back then make so much more sense now. But if I hadn't have woken up, the knowledge she was trying to pass on to me as a teenager would be gone. This knowledge would never move on. And until I get my daughter to fully awaken, which I'm hoping small steps is happening, but um it's harder because she was in the medical profession. She had to take one of those sticky pokies. It terrifies me every day. But it would have been lost. It would have been lost long after I'm gone. Uh, okay, Clayton was talking about the GATE program. Yes, Shannon and I were both GATE children. I was in GATE from whatever age it was they would let me in, like second or third grade, all the way through elementary school. I can tell you what I done the summer of 1986 with Daniel. Dang near every day, what I was wearing, what we did, where we played. I can tell you most of the stuff we did for 5 years. I can't tell you what I did in that class for 5 years. You were supposed to be special. Only a few of us got to go. So you would think it would have been a memorable experience. But if you know somebody that was in the GATE program, whether they're awakened or not, find out. Ask them what what type of activities did you do in that class? What kind of, what was going on? What did you learn? What did you work on? Did you do projects? What did you have for lunch? Folks, I can't even remember eating lunch when I was there or where we ate lunch. I remember getting on the bus, and that's it. You remember walking into class and you got your little thing of pink drink that they said, was to strengthen your teeth. And you drank that and you went over and you sat down and you put your headphones on, and that's the last thing you remembered for the next 7 hours. Mike, ain't nobody worried about you missing no troll,
Right.
honey. You get them all. You was eating. You take a break. You need to keep your strength up. You can't be getting sick on us no
That's
more.
right.
I hope you're feeling better, Mike.
Me too.
But there are a lot of things that connect those 3-letter agencies with the GATE program. And that MK thing that they were doing with a lot of people carried over into that GATE program. And think of the MK stuff kind of like in the Men in Black movie, the little blinky light they've got where they're like, look at the light. That's what the MK is. When you microdose anybody, whether it be a child or an adult, when you dose them or microdose them, you make them more susceptible to a hypnotic trance, which will completely wipe out their memory for the next 7 to 10 hours.
Which, might I add, that pink drink, right? That we all had.
Hmm.
Yep. What
Hmm.
what was in there? Mm-hmm.
Go ahead and tell them what was in that. Why don't you?
Well, I mean, we're talking there's a concoction of things, but they were definitely microdosing us with, I can't remember the exact name of it, but it is a form of LSD.
And
Mm-hmm.
Pepto-Bismol so that it didn't burn our stomachs going
Mm-hmm.
in. Yep, they were LSD in the spokes. Third graders being dosed with LSD. This is a system run by the Capri Suns and three-letter agencies of the government that we pay our taxes to.
And yeah, and I come from the generation of dare. So here they're like, just say no. Can't I say no to
Yeah.
your pink drink?
Have you ever seen the documentary on Just Say No? That was a scam.
Oh,
It was
of
just like
course, of
NGOs.
course.
All of it's a
Mm-hmm.
scam. All of it's a money scam. But I honestly believe the Gifted and Talented program is to find super soldiers. They're looking for people that can remote view and astral project and do super puzzle solving.
Mm-hmm.
And the only reason that I probably wasn't dragged into something because of my super puzzle solving skills and this 9 tab brain that I have is because I was defiant. Oh, there goes my ear. All of a sudden it's like,
Mm-hmm.
um, let me be. But I was defiant. All my paperwork through the GATE program tells you ask too many questions, defiant, divergent, not suitable. Because it was talking about moving me from when I went from the 5th grade to middle school. There was some other program they were going to try to shift me into. And the notes at the bottom basically said that I just wouldn't do what I was told. And I talked too much and I asked too many.
Right.
Yeah. The anybody who Clayton, I'm not sure if you're aware of the Monroe Institute and the gateway process. Look those up. The gateway process is what, when you went into the gifted and talented program, you went in your class, you drank your pink drink, you went over to your table, and you sat down in front of your little thing that kind of looked like a flip top record player, and you pulled your headphones out and you put those on, and it was a frequency, which puts you into a hemisync. It synced your left and right side of your brain together, so you were more susceptible to hypnosis, and you'd forget the next 7 hours. The sad thing is, these three-letter agencies were so stupid that they were testing the wrong kids. They weren't even good at trying to be crooked because the kids that have the powers are the autistic kids. If you haven't watched the telepathy tapes, if we got any new viewers out there, I know we got about 12 or 15 tonight. If you've not watched the telepathy tapes, start at season 1. These children have abilities that we probably have but are repressed because of our ego. These children have no ego. They have nothing to gain from this. They can read their mother's mind. They communicate with each other across thousands of miles on different continents. They go in their room and close their eyes and go into a meditative state and go to a place called the Hill. So if you haven't seen the telepathy tapes, it is one of the best series I've ever listened to that opened my mind as to what the possibility is. And we don't have the accessibility to know what they teach other children in other education systems in other countries or continents. There are Asian children that they teach the power of telekinesis to when they're 6 or 7 years old. We just play it off as foolish or something you saw in a movie or something that Stephen King wrote about. The what is the girl with the little fire Drew Barrymore played. But
Right.
they
The
teach these
fire
children this at
started.
6 and 8 years old in Asian countries, but we don't see it because our internet and our television is so narrowed as to what they want you to see. You don't know that that's a possibility. If you don't know it's a possibility, you don't go seek it. You don't go learn how to use it. Everything to learn how to use it is within you, but there are many things within you that you have to let go of. One of them being ego. And I don't know, just go listen to it and think about the possibility that humans were endowed with these abilities. They are not superpowers, they are the power that is within you. You just have to learn how to meditate on it, pray about it, and it's possible. See, there goes that phone again. Ding, ding, ding. They ding, ding, dinging me tonight. Gotta love the holidays.
Mhm.
I just don't see where else discernment comes from. It comes from within. It comes from a knowing. Pray on it, meditate on it. If you look in the Bible, every time somebody in the Bible had a problem that they needed to think about or work it out or figure it out, they went into the desert or the forest or wherever for 40 nights, 40 days and 40 nights. It was for the quiet. There is no quiet in our world anymore. You have a noise box in your hand, and at every still moment, we tend to scroll TikTok or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. And when you get home, the TV's on, the radio's on, the kids are running around, they're talking, your spouse is talking. When you're at work, you got 60 people coming at you. There's no quiet. Go find quiet. When you find quiet, there's nobody in your head but you. And that's where it takes to come to a reckoning with your own ego, to lay it down. Once you lay that ego down and you get in the right place, there's no telling what the possibilities are within this human body and mind that we have. It was made by our Father, God. He made it a fantastic model. If you think about how the human body works to do what it does, it is the most interesting, unique machine there has ever been. He made it this way for a purpose. We have just become very limited in how we use it due to all the evil and the noise around us. I kind of went off on a rant there, everybody. Sorry. My apologies. You still with me, Shannon?
I am. I was just listening. I was letting you go.
Well, I mean, we got to find silence in this world. And I mean, just everywhere you go, you're bombarded by, the sounds of the wee woos, the pink ones and the red ones and the blue ones, and it's wee woo, wee woo. I call them wee woos because I got a kid that drives a wee woo. But it's just the constant noise and bombardment of traffic and machines and factories and, the hum of all these big towers around you that you don't even realize are humming you up. Go somewhere where it's quiet. Just go find a moment of quiet. And if it's nothing else and everybody in your house goes to bed tonight, take 10 minutes. Just lay there in complete silence. Say your prayers. And during your prayers, list all of the things that you are grateful for. Every day when you get up, the first thing that you should say is, "Thank you, God, for waking me up one more day. I am so grateful for all the things I have. I'm grateful for my home. I'm grateful for the shoes on my feet. I'm grateful for the water I drink. I am smart. I am healthy. I am, I am." Just keep listing what you're grateful for. The more grateful you are, the more wonderful things will come your way.
Amen.
I'm trying to read comments while I'm running my mouth. Sometimes I can't read and talk all at the same time. Yeah, we're being bombarded with frequencies and electromagnetics. This is why they wanted you to take lead paint out your house back in the 70s. To, with lead paint in your house, they can't see through the walls with your Wi Fi. But thankfully, I now live in a house built in the 60s that was built by a man, by hand, and it's probably got 8 coats of paint on the wall. I hope 3 of them are filled with lead.
Right.
I do. I honestly hope there's lead paint all over my walls. Because my grandbabies is old enough, they ain't chewing on no walls. And if they is, they going to wish they weren't. Lead
Right.
paint would be the least of their worries. Just the truth. But that's why they wanted lead paint out of your house. They can take your Wi-Fi router and tell where you're standing at in your house. Literally. It's like 3D sonar. Go look that up on YouTube. It will blow your mind because your Wi-Fi router always sits in the same place. So they see enough of it's like sonar, the sound bouncing off of it. So if there are any new objects in there that are moving, they know it's you. They can check your whole house that way. So don't never doubt whether they know whether you're home or not.
Right?
Uh, let's see. I agree. Somehow we've lost our weight and it shut down some kind of interference. Yeah, all these big, huge towers around us, 5G. It's amazing how when they went up with 5G, that pandemic happened. Usually does. Radiation, as Daniel tells us. The world's quietest room. Just discovered this the other day. I was explaining to Shannon there's a thing called a float tank. It is a sight and sound deprivation tank. You go get in it. Some depending on where you go, they kind of look like big egg pods or something like from Cocoon. But when you go get in it, you lay down in water. It's called heavy water. There's so much Epsom salt in it, it's kind of like the Dead Sea. You won't sink. You just put on a bathing suit and you go get in it. The water is body temperature, so there's no shock or change in temperature. And gradually, over the next couple of minutes, all light and sound is cut off. That was the biggest neurological reset I've ever had in my life. When I come out of that room after 45 minutes that day, it felt like I had walked out into a new world. And I keep saying I want to go, but we don't have one here. I've got to drive almost 2 hours away to find one, but I'm going back unless somebody wants to like gift me a float tank experience. I would love it. But yeah, that is the quietest room you will go into. All right, guys, we've been on here about an hour and a half. We're on the holiday season. I'm sure everybody's still got to get back to cooking and everything else. So, what kind of big food you having, Miss Shannon?
Making lasagna, Italian potato salad. Um, let's see what else. I'm making two different pies, but two each, banana cream and chocolate peanut butter with Oreo cookie crust. So, yep.
I made my first chocolate delight today.
Ooh.
We'll see how that goes. Graham cracker, and there's like a cream cheese Cool Whip layer, and then there's chocolate pudding, and then there's Cool Whip, and then there's more graham crackers. It sounds like diabetes in a 9-inch tin.
Oh,
What it sounds
that's,
like. Just
yeah.
saying.
This is that chocolate peanut butter Oreo cookie crust pie that I
Diabetes in a
got. Yeah.
tray. Yep. Diabetes.
But the lasagna, man, I make it all from scratch. Like the sauce on up, except for maybe the noodles. I'm not that cool yet, but everything else. So, woo, it's a feat.
Well, we know that a lot of us no longer celebrate this arbitrary Christmas thing, because we know this is not when our Jesus was born. At least that's what the Bible tells us. Is that this wasn't it? This is a sellout for corporate America. That's what it is, and all the evil things that go with that, and all of the evil people. But we are going to take this and turn it into something positive. So even if you don't want to celebrate this holiday, and you have family coming around, like I saw Cash say a while ago, don't bah humbug everybody else. Not everybody is awake. And if you wake one person up, you've done your job. But take this time to enjoy your family, hug your children, your grandchildren, aunts, uncles, grandmas, love them, take pictures with them, get them printed. Because everybody takes digital pictures this day and they're just on your phone. If you lose that phone, you've lost the pictures. Print some pictures, hang them on a wall. But enjoy that family time. Love each other. Enjoy your food. Make sure you got some Tums on hand for the heartburn. And We will. Or we're not going to do a show Thursday night, Shannon, due to the holiday.
Yeah, Thursday night. It's just I'll be way too exhausted.
Me
So,
too.
but just to let you guys know, we are still running that giveaway for new subscribers. So keep on subscribing or sharing, for others to subscribe, and you
Yeah.
will hopefully get The Coming Flood of AI, The Rise of the Nephilim Spirits, the revised version written by David Beverly Sr., also known as Jesus Freak Computer Geek. So there's about 3 of them to give away. And if you put a review on his Amazon link, you are in the running for a free laptop.
That sounds very cool. We're going to draw for that at New Year's. I'm pretty sure Daniel's going to have a show tomorrow on Logic Before Authority. We're going to take Thursday night off. The Scooby Doo gang is going to recover because I can promise you, after Christmas morning, I'm going to need a day of recovery once all of this stuff is unboxed because it is all outdoor toys.
Mhm. I
So,
will tell you, though, what we will be talking about the next time we're on Children of the Most High, just in case you guys want to look forward to it. I don't know if any of you guys have heard of Dr. Bronner's soap or use it yourselves, but we're going to delve into Dr. Bronner and his product and all the lovely things he has written all over the packaging. And you know how Roxy and I bring up a lot of the way you speak and the things that your intentions and all of that, your frequency affects the things that you put in and out of your body. So it's a really interesting deep dive on this product, and it is all natural and organic. And if there is any kind of natural soap product that I would ever suggest, would be Dr. Bronner's products. I have always been a fan. I've used it for the last like 17 years exclusively. And it's, yeah, he's an interesting character. And if any of you guys have that soap, I would check out the label and read it. It's pretty interesting.
it's a very full label created by a blind man.
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't blind to begin with. Okay, everybody, have a good holiday. We will probably see you again Friday on the Supernatural show. I'm sitting over here waving my hand like somebody can see me, Shannon.
Yay, you're
You
like
know I've been
me.
up
You
too
got the
long. I'm over here
Italian hands
waving at
put
the
up.
camera and nobody can
Yep.
see me.
Woo.
Have a good night, guys. We love you. We'll talk
Love
to you
you.
Friday. Good night.
Nice.
Subscribe.